Greetings sailors and welcome to a bit of tier 10 action. This is me in the Yamato along with Mr. Conway in the Grosse Kurfürst and Isolate in the Haberovsk, and this is actually one I played when I joined ISO for one of his streams. Now, the current set of ARP missions that have come back, at least for EU, if you want to get the Takao, it involves playing a lot of tier 9 and 10, because, unlike other servers where it's from tier 6 upwards to unlock those ships, on EU, Wargaming, the EU office, in their infinite wisdom, have decided to set the bar quite high in terms of the requirements. Now, 50 wins isn't so bad in the time frame, it's just that the fact that it's tier 9 and 10 effectively locks out quite a lot of people. And so, understandably, there's been a bit of salt, especially as the tier requirement on other servers, you know, tier 6 is way easier to get to. And there's been some speculation that this is maybe to reduce the spam of Takaos in ranked battles, where, okay, you've got your tier 6 ship, but maybe you've never played a tier 8 before and you're running around in ranked battles and you have no idea what you're doing and kind of ruining it for everyone else. So, I mean, it's not like there isn't some logic there, but maybe having made it tier 8 and up would have been more logical rather than making it tier 9 and 10 only. And even for someone like me who's played quite a lot of games, well, I say quite a lot of games, not actually that many games, but it's got to be a couple of thousand games at this point. I'm not actually sure of the exact number. But anyway, I've still only got this and the Izumo. That's my only tier 9 and 10s. Although having said that, I literally the other day just unlocked the Kagero. And it's probably a bit of a funny time to go and buy the Kagero when we know there are changes to Japanese destroyers coming along. But it was really a choice between that, the Ibuki, which I wouldn't have probably been very comfortable in, or the Iowa. And I decided to go with the Kagero in the end because I only needed about 20k free XP to unlock it. I was almost done with that grind anyway. So, enough about that. On with this match. We decided to come down and try and poke the A-cap circle, but we've discovered the enemy Montana division has had the same thought. And there's also, well, there was a gearing there, but I had quite a nice salvo that I was able to take him out. So that eliminates that destroyer problem. Now, Izo being in the ISO, I don't know how I should be saying that actually. Wow, I've known him for a little while now, and suddenly I'm unsure how to say his name. Just me things, I guess. Anyway, yes, the Haberovsk is not a stealthy destroyer. It's a very capable gunboat, but it's definitely not the kind of destroyer where you can sneak up close to people undetected. I should also, I mean, you might have noticed the chat in the beginning of this one. Yes, somebody made a little attempt at trolling me, which, quite frankly, I thought was cute. You know, I gave them a mark for effort, but then also I reported them, I guess, because, I don't know, Conway said, oh, let's report this guy, and if Conway thinks it's the kind of, if that's of a level where you should be reporting stuff, then whatever, okay, sure, why not? But if it was just me alone playing, I probably wouldn't have bothered, because, I don't know, I've encountered worse, and it was sort of creative, but, I mean, who's going to get mad about a thing like that? That was just, I encounter worse from Caption Guy, for crying out loud. So, Isolate has had a bit of a hammering. Unfortunately, he's lost most of his health very early, and that's going to limit what he can do. But on the plus side, we have eliminated one of their Montanas, and it's actually Iso that got the kill there. We've also managed to capture C, but the bad news is the enemy team has both B and A, and B is kind of like the critical cap point in this particular map. If you can control B and then either one of the end cap circles, then that obviously gives you the cap point advantage. And whether you can keep control of that midpoint will quite often determine the course of a game. So really, if we can't get A, I mean, we could try and push in, but we'd have a lot of the enemy ships around the mid and south shooting at us, so it's probably better to try and contest B. So we're just repositioning at the moment, and I've taken a bit of a hammering. I mean, I took a risky turn, but I've done some damage myself. And I will say, in terms of Yamato games, I mean, I feel like I'm at a place now with the Yamato where I am a lot more comfortable with it than I was when I first got it. And some of that's just practice, but also some of it's now being a bit more comfortable with that high-tier gameplay. Although, I will confess, the majority of the time I take this out, it is in a division. And if you can play in a division with a destroyer or another competent battleship captain, then that does make the world of difference. Because when you play this thing solo, I mean, I've had some okay matches in it solo, and it's actually now not the financial risk that it was with the economy changes. I mean, if you tank a bunch of damage, I've had losses where I've still made money thanks to the high-tier economy changes, and they're not perfect, but they're an improvement on how things were, at least for some ships. And so although I've had some fairly painful losses still, it's less of a risk to take this thing out solo these days. So I do from time to time. But I think also to get this this battle requirement, even though I've now got the Kagero at my disposal as well, and I do still have the Izumo in my port, I'm going to be playing this a lot more, so we'll see. We might get some more replays out of it. This isn't going to be a spectacular game, though. There was actually another game that I played with Izo, I think it was from the same stream, it must have been, where I kind of wished I'd saved the score screens for it, actually. It was almost the more entertaining game. It was more the kind of the tanky battleship style that you maybe associate with the Yamato. It was like playing the mouse in World of Tanks in a division where, you know, you've got some competent team mates in medium tanks, and you are, I don't know, the meat in the sandwich. That doesn't make any sense. Why did I say that? I don't know. Anyway, but basically, you know, you push through and then they make use of the space you've created to go and deal lots of damage. So the Yamato can be kind of like that. You have to not be afraid of taking hits and getting in people's faces and just tanking a bit. But you can also now do that in the Kurfürst. And as you can see, Conway, well, I was a bit further forward than him when we were approaching the cap, and I think I was taking the brunt of the damage, so I'm a bit less healthy now, but I don't know, we've still got enough between us. I mean, it's not like I'm critically low health yet, not by any means. So that Izumo, I mean, I'm splitting my fire a bit now at this stage. We've got some nice broadside Montanas, but the Izumo is low health. And of course, with the Yamato's guns, the overmatched characteristics are second to none, because they are really quite big guns. And I think the only other ship that you would possibly have that would have 18-inch guns is actually a Royal Navy ship. Was it the Renown? I can't remember. I know I've mentioned it in other videos. It was one that was basically converted to an aircraft carrier. Yeah, it had a pair of single 18-inch guns in turrets fore and aft. So it would have 18-inch guns, but it would only have 2 of them, which would make for a very odd playstyle, maybe. So, yes, anyway, I got a bit distracted there because, you know, broadside Montanas, but this Izumo, you know, if we can kill him, we get the points. And we need the points because we're down a bit at the moment. And there's actually an enemy destroyer contesting C. And as you can see, that Friedrich de Grosser, he took a bit of a battering. He took some torpedoes to the face. But there are now some cruisers helping him as well. So there we go, he's now out. So Izo got the Izumo kill. We can now focus on these Montanas, and we also know there's North Carolina and a pair of cruisers around somewhere, and crucially still a destroyer who hasn't been seen. So that might be a bit tricky. So between myself and Conway, we're now going to go and contest B. Izo, of course, could have tried this himself earlier, but he's on critically low health at the moment. So if he'd done it and been outspotted by the enemy Japanese destroyer, then that would have been goodbye isolate. So he took the safer course of action, which actually keeps him in the game, and just let us cap instead. And it's not like we don't have the time to do so. We're not critically low on points or anything like that. In fact, we're slightly ahead on points at the moment, but we do need this cap circle because capping wins games in World of Warships. And we've all been on the wrong end of those teams where they just ignore all the cap circles and it all goes horribly wrong very, very quickly. So there's some incoming torpedoes. We know roughly where that destroyer is. I was able to avoid those. Unfortunately, Conway is actually not going to be able to. He's going to take rather a lot of damage as a result. So we ended this cap circle with Conway really having more health, but unfortunately, as a result of those torpedoes, that's not now going to be the case. And I think he even had the hydro available, but just didn't use it as we were approaching. But that the first inkling we had that the destroyer was, firing torps in our direction was the torps actually appearing there. But I suppose it would have been logical to assume that this would be the main point of interest for that destroyer right now. So I mean, we're trying to cap, but we're getting reset. However, the stuff that's coming from the north as well, and because we're taking the brunt of this damage, it means that our allies aren't being reset. Now earlier on, I let a fire just burn out, and I've got now 2 fires going. And again, I should have just let them both burn out. And instead, with about 20 seconds left to go, I extinguished the fires and used the heal. This was a bit of a mistake, and although I was quite pleased with myself earlier on for resisting the not infrequent urge to just hammer the R key the moment I get a fire, well, this is why you don't immediately extinguish a fire in a battleship unless you're critically low health, because I can't avoid these torpedoes, and now I'm going to flood, and this is very, very bad. So there's a bit of an object lesson in this this replay as well. This is why you don't immediately hammer the R key when you get 1 or even 2 fires. In fact, even 3 fires with the amount of health I had, it would have been preferable to let it burn rather than have this situation where I'm now flooding for another 20 odd seconds. You can see how rapidly the health is going down. Flooding is a disaster. You do not want to flood. It is very, very bad for you indeed. So, another 20 seconds fire damage versus this? Yeah, you can see now why just letting the fires burn is preferable, and it was absolutely a bad move on my part to have hit the R key when I did. So, I had enough hit points to survive that flooding, but if I get hit by another torpedo, that's very bad news. But the thing is, we don't know where this last destroyer is. He could have been following the battleships around. He could be back down around sea. He could be trying to fire in more torpedoes from the south. So I have to be ultra cautious right now. So I get some more health back just in time for this Montana to come around the corner, but he's coming around broadside. So I've actually angled such that I can get all 3 turrets on. And there we go. Shots away. Hopefully it's good. And there we go, Citadel hits. And this guy's basically doomed. So, yeah, between myself and... it was actually Iso got with torpedoes there, but between myself and Conway, I mean, we took the vast majority of that guy's health, and then Iso was just able to clinch the kill, and that's actually his 4th kill now. So that just leaves this destroyer and the North Carolina, and we have pretty much won. Now it's a close game. We're still quite close on points, but we now have the cap circle advantage. Plus, we've got only 2 ships left to take care of. Even if the destroyer runs away, the North Carolina is not going to be able to, and we will win on points, so it'll be fine. It's just a matter of, can I get any more damage out of this? Because 134k, I mean, I think that's sort of vaguely getting into the realms of being respectable in a Yamato. But almost, you have to almost remember as well with the Yamato, it's about as much taking the damage as it is doing it. Or, well, tanking the damage. And I think I did that reasonably well in this one. I pushed in places when I needed to, and turned away when I needed to. But I also made a tremendous mistake, which you shouldn't do, and which I'm only very slowly learning not to. So there's some torpedoes. We know the destroyer's up around here somewhere. I was hoping for a bit more damage out of that North Carolina, but yeah, the end of this is going to come very quickly, because there we go, the Fubuki gets spotted. North Carolina is I mean, he's fairly healthy now, but watch how quickly his health is going to disappear. Interesting spread of torps on the Fubuki. He was hedging his bets a bit there, but he's going to miss all of us. So shots out in the North Carolina, 14k damage there, and I think Conway, basically what happens is Conway gets the North Carolina kill, he wipes out the last bit of health on this guy, and Izo gets the Fubuki kill, and it all happens very quickly at the end there. So 152k damage in the end, which, yeah, it's not bad. I think this was a decent game in the Yamato. And aside from that one mistake, I could have ended with more hit points, but it was all right. I actually ended up with Confederate and the one that you get for surviving lots of damage. And I can't remember what it's called now. More often than not in the Yamato, I seem to get the fireproof and the... Is it Dreadnought? Dreadnought, yeah. I seem to get them both together, which I think that's a sign that you're doing something right in the Yamato, because it means you've tanked a lot of damage and survived. And in this case, a lot of damage was over 2 million potential damage. And I also got some decent spotting damage there as well. So, yeah. And it was also a nice podium finish for this match. Myself, Conway and Izo in the top 3 spots of the team. So there we are, 75k profit, even with all the premium consumables and the service costs and the ammo costs. So it's not bad. It's you're not going to be earning oodles of money in your tier 10 battleships these days, but so long as you're doing your job and not sailing around firing at absolute maximum range, even on a loss, you can still not lose money. And I think that's a positive change for the high tier economy, but I think there are further tweaks coming along the way. So hopefully you have enjoyed this look at me flailing around in tier 10. I guess is the most accurate way to put it. And if you have, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.